Hey, folks. Hey, no, please keep talking. I'm just here to warm up the crowd. We've got some folks tuning in from home, and so just wanted to say hi to the folks in the audience at home. Hey, everybody. So I'm going to do a little bit of crowd interview. Hello, what's your name, and how are you finding us for this Zoomberry premiere?
My name is Marianne Ludlow, and I'm from Montpelier, and I'm here because my wife was in it.
Oh, fabulous, fabulous. Then we have a star here. Wonderful. So, moving up the aisle. Hello. Would you like to say a little bit about how you got involved with Zoomberry or what brought you to the show today?
Hi, I'm Tom Norton. I'm Patricia's husband. So.
Oh, look at that! I found a VIP in the crowd.
So I was part of the whole project and looking forward to seeing the movie.
Fabulous, fabulous. Well, we actually have a pretty good crowd here so far. It's really exciting. Oh my goodness! I think I found the filmmaker. That was an accident here. Anna, do you want to say hi?
Hi, everyone.
Are you excited?
Not as excited as you guys should be.
Ooh, that's the right answer. All right, we're gonna keep finding some more friends here. All right, let's see if I can get this angle right. Oh, hello.
Hello.
Are you excited for the show?
Yes, I'm extremely curious as to how it all came out. I'm in the
Was this your first time participating in a virtual performance?
Yes, it was. It was very interesting. And of course, Patricia is amazing, so it was fun just to be with her.
Fabulous. Yeah, it's really incredible what you've all put together, and we're so excited so many people are here to see it. All right, let's find some more folks to talk to. Starting to fill up, actually. It's hard to navigate through the audience. You can see folks are starting to arrive. Do you mind being bothered by an in-audience reporter? So, what brought you to the show today?
Well, we're here to see.
Wonderful. Nice to meet you, Tammy.
The two of us are in town from Milwaukee.
Wow, Milwaukee.
Yep.
I think that might be the furthest traveled for sure. Excellent, excellent. I'm going to come bother you next. Hi, nice to meet you. What brought you to the show today?
My daughter Ann is the filmmaker.
Oh my goodness, more VIPs. Found the filmmaker's parents. I can't believe that Anna's only, she's going to be a junior in high school this year. It's really, really astonishing. And do you have any thoughts? Have you already watched the film several times through?
Oh, yes, I have. I've watched it several times.
Yes.
Yes.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, I can't wait to see it on the big screen. It's going to be incredible. Hello, folks. Thanks for joining us. Nice to see you. Oh, Becky Bailey. All right. Well, do you mind if I do a little brief on interview?
Never mind anything that you impose on me.
Wonderful. Thank you, Becky. So, are you excited about seeing the film today?
I am so excited about seeing this film. I love the work that Patricia's been doing, and I think it's heroic to have kept people singing through the pandemic.
And you're still singing yourself, right, with the Thetford Chamber Singers and a couple other groups?
With a number of groups, we've kind of gotten back together, and it's great to actually be singing with people in real space in real time.
So since you've also been rehearsing and performing some during the pandemic, what's something that you learned over the last year that you're going to take with you?
How great it is to actually sing in an acoustic space with people and make those little partnerships with people so that if the pandemic numbers go up again, you can make music with other people. Have a pod, a musical pod.
A musical pod, exactly. No, it really, really changes your perspective on what the collaboration is about. And also, I think our ears are desperate to hear music in a live space. But this is exciting to see this too.
Yeah, Yeah, I agree. I feel like this lunge effect. When I hear live music now, it's like, oh my God, like the plant being watered. So I'm looking forward to this.
Excellent. Well, thanks, Becky. Thanks so much. All right, let's see if we can find some more friends in the crowd. I'm looking for my friends from the Choral Arts Foundation of the Upper Valley. Shameless plug here. This project was something we were excited to help support, and if you are interested in joining a local choir, you can come to us. You can find us at info@choralartsuv.org, and we'll help you find out about other exciting projects like this happening in the choral community. And yeah, looking and to see if we have a couple more of our board members in the house. I see more folks trickling in. As you can see, now have a pretty full crowd. Hope all of you who are tuning in from home are sitting down with a nice cup of tea and a cookie or something to enjoy a film premiere. We don't have enough Upper Valley film premieres, I think, so it's really exciting that we get to have one here. All right, I see a couple interesting looking folks here. Do you mind if I ask you a few questions about how you're connected to the film?
Oh, we sang in the remote chorus.
Oh, wow, fabulous.
Here, well, we just got here. Oh, with Zoomberry, it was a real challenge, but it was really worth it.
Fabulous. Excellent. That's great. Yeah, the film, I think, does an excellent job of portraying all of the hard work that you put into it. All right. Let's see if we... So many people here, and so many new faces. I think that's one of the great things about Zoomberry, actually, is that it brings together folks from all over the Upper Valley and now actually around the country and around the world, thanks to Patricia's innovations with the virtual chorus. So that's really exciting to see. But also singers of all sorts of ability levels. So that's very exciting as well. All right, well, I think we're going to get started in a few minutes, folks, so sit tight and we'll get the show on the road. Thanks so much for tuning in.
Good afternoon. My name is Ben Van Vliet, and as Executive Director of the Upper Valley Music Center, I'd like to welcome you to the final event of this year's Sing and Play Festival, the Zoomberry Film Premiere. This past year has been a year unlike any other, and the film you're about to see is also unlike any other. The fact that we are about to share this film here at the Briggs Opera House and with folks tuning in from the Upper Valley and across the world is a testament to the energy and the dedication of many people. But there's one person in particular who is the reason that we are here today. And on behalf of everybody who has had a part in bringing Zoomberry into this world, I'd like to acknowledge and thank Patricia Norton for her vision and for the courage to create this adventurous chorus for uncommon times that is Juneberry. So when Patricia gave the Zoomberry vision to all of us, many people became involved in this unique moment in time. And you'll see their names listed in the credits, but I'd like to highlight a few right now and ask that you hold your applause until the end. First, I'd like to thank the Choral Arts Foundation of the Upper Valley and the many individuals who made gifts to support Juneberry. In particular, the Choral Arts Foundation recognized very early on the potential of this project, and their foundational support allowed us to launch what seemed both a really uncertain and also absolutely essential concept. Next, I'd like to thank the many members of the Zoomberry Chorus who took a huge risk on something that had never been done before at a complicated point in all of our lives. A huge thank you to Zoomberry artistic directors Patricia Norton and Claudia Rahajanato for their vision and their patient, inspiring teaching, and to pianist Brenda Shen for her beautiful playing. I'd like to thank the film production team, who was led by Anna King, with sound design and engineering by Tuck Stocking and consultation from Johanna Evans. I would also like to thank the Lebanon Opera House, their fantastic crew, and CATV for key assistance during the filming process. Next, I'd like to thank the Briggs Opera House and Here in the Valley Productions for producing today's event. And finally, I'd like to thank UVMC's Assistant Director, Aaron Smith, who has provided immeasurable behind-the-scenes planning, logistics, and support for whatever needed to be done. Zoomberry is something that could not have happened without a community effort, and it is truly amazing what a community of people can do together. So our event this afternoon has two parts. First, we'll see the film, and then we'll have a discussion with Zoomberry artistic leaders, some of whom are here, some of whom are joining us by Zoom from Germany, and with a special guest from Wales. The film is about 50 minutes long, and then we will shift directly into the discussion with no intermission. So, the Juneberry Choral Program at Upper Valley Music Center now presents Zoomberry, an adventurous chorus for uncommon times.
Hi, I'm Patricia Norton. I love the sound of voices together. I love choral ensembles. And when it became clear to me that this wasn't going to be an option for a long time, I felt angry and sad and really kind of lost. And that lasted for quite a while. Many long walks, a lot of chocolate conversations, and crying later. I started thinking about how there might be some things that we can do now that we haven't tried before, ways of creating community and art despite barriers, maybe even because of barriers.
In March of 2020, the Zoomberry Community Chorus of the Upper Valley Music Center was preparing for their end-of-term concert. Directed by Patricia Norton, this choir was one of the many in the Upper Valley who had to put their plans on hold when the COVID-19 pandemic hit the United States. In the hopes of a speedy return to in-person choral practices, Patricia pivoted and led choral rehearsals through Zoom in hopes of keeping her singers primed for the supposedly soon end of the pandemic.
You know, one of the first super spreader events was a chorus in Oregon. So it became clear very early in our understanding of what was dangerous with the virus, that rehearsing in person inside was dangerous.
Yeah.
So it put the kibosh on in-person rehearsals right off in early March. So I started doing virtual rehearsals and found that it was, and then talked with my chorus about it, and you know, about half of the chorus enjoyed it and half the chorus really hated it, and you know, it was clear that there was quite a mix of response to that. It became, and when we started doing it, we weren't sure whether maybe we were going to be able to give a concert in a few months, still an in-person concert. So gradually that became clear that that wasn't going to happen.
We tried to do Zoomberry for a little bit once the pandemic started. We tried to continue, and I think at that time, right, we all thought that the pandemic wasn't going to last this long. So we were like, oh, it'll be over by our, you know, we were supposed to perform in May, I think, and we were like, oh, well, let's keep practicing for our performance in May. And then as we got closer, I think we all realized that we weren't going to be performing after all, and it was incredibly frustrating.
Once the realization settled in that in-person choral singing may not be an option anytime soon, Patricia was faced with the choice to continue these rough Zoom Zoomberry rehearsals or put the choir on hold. She chose the latter, but the idea of a choir designed for Zoom kept turning over in her head.
Patricia and I used to walk frequently together, and I remember when she first started talking about this, and she was like bubbling over with ideas, just bubbling, you know. And I met this young filmmaker, and she's going to do the filming, and she's so great. I mean, honestly, she was bubbling over.
And I started thinking, you know, well, what can I offer for people who love choral singing? Where can I go that's somewhere that people will build skills for when we come back to in-person choral singing? Because I know that's going to happen.
Yes.
And how can we keep people in their voices? How can we build skills so that when they come back, they hit the ground running, and they're, you know, and they're even better than before? You know, how can we use this time and do something with it?
And Zoomberry was born. Patricia gathered 4 completely different pieces of music for this new chorus, with the help from the Upper Valley Music Center and Claudia Rahajanoto, among others.
So I don't think I would have just done any old Zoom choir. I don't want to say any old, excuse me. I don't mean to put down any choir, please. But this was different because it was this creative project, and we had some body percussion and just some different, the variety was really pulled me. It just was a nice project, what can I say?
And one of the things that I've loved about this project is how many people have heard about it and gotten excited about it and been interested in supporting it. So Ben and Aaron at the Upper Valley Music Center, and Becca, the staff there, the board there, they've all gotten on board with getting funding and figuring out, finding a filmmaker. Johanna Kaffa of the Choral Arts Foundation of the Upper Valley, Johanna Evans, helped me connect with Nora Jacobson, which is how I found you as a filmmaker, and you're excited about it.
Yes, I am.
Claudia is excited about it. I wanted to think about how to help people hum in a resonant way, so I talked with Joey Blake, who is this incredible vocalist. He's on faculty at Berklee College of Music.
Yeah.
And he's excited about it.
I just wanted to go back to Patricia, and what she did was she took the time we're in. She didn't lament. I mean, maybe she did. maybe we all do, what is gone, what is past, but it is what it is. There's nothing we can do. We have to be smart about moving forward, and we are. I think Vermont's doing a great job. And then Joey, and would we have these folks come to us? Probably not. They wouldn't come from New York City or Boston. It's a little bit closer. They probably wouldn't. They might. You don't know. But we have, oh my God, world-class musicians that are going to be part of our Zoom meetings.
Once the team was gathered behind Patricia, it was time to begin. More than 45 people had joined the Zoomberry virtual choir in the fall of 2020. Most of them hailed from New England, but thanks to the virtual nature of the chorus, singers from places as far away as Vancouver were able to join.
Zoomberry has meant an opportunity to connect with people that I would not have been able to connect with otherwise during this pandemic. It's really been an opportunity to see people that I knew through choir, through Juneberry, that I probably wouldn't have Zoomed with otherwise, not because I don't really love everybody, but just because of the circumstances of it, that being on Zoom all day anyway, I just really cut down on how much I saw people in general, even the people closest to me. And I think that's probably true for a lot of people. And so if Zoomberry hadn't happened, I probably wouldn't have had that much contact.
The other thing I like about it is that there are people who join from all over the country and, in fact, other countries as well. And that has been really special. And, I did not have that experience before the coronavirus. So I try to look for the silver lining. Those are the silver linings. But I really miss singing in a group together live with other people.
The project began with Our Light and Our Night.
The first piece is a piece that was written by a sort of an avant-garde composer, I guess you could call her. She's part of the C4 collective, which does modern choral music. And that piece was written to be sung on Zoom with everything taken into account, all the lag time and the mic choosing in and out, everything like that. So we'll start by exploring that piece. And it's to a very old text of Julian of Norwich. And it's kind of a hopeful text. It's kind of our light in our night, this sense of the possibility of things opening up.
The words so moved me again, so appropriate for this time. So when I do feel down, I remember our light in the night, the light of God, an endless day. Oh my gosh, that is, I look out today and I see the brightness. And so that's what we have to go forward to, is this brightness, if we lift our hearts up, they will be full of light.
This piece was chosen in part as a way to showcase the difficulties of singing over Zoom. By the end of October, it was recorded and mixed by the beginning of December.
And I think I was kind of upset, I remember, when I found out that this was supposed to be our baseline piece to show how terrible we sound as a choir and how much we're going to improve through the term. Because I was like, hey, I'm singing this with my heart and soul, and I think it sounds pretty good. So I actually did like that one. I thought that one had some beauty to it, and it also afforded a lot of laughter because we got to record it as a group, which was really, really fun. And we all kind of got confused and messed up all over the place, but it was so fun.
I think Our Light in Our Night did capture some of the difficulty of singing over Zoom and why it's difficult to make it be a musical experience. And it really captured the variability of mics, the quality of sound through Zoom. It really captured the willingness and the generosity of the singers.
When I listen to recordings of either Juneberry Chorus when it performs things, or even recordings of Handel Society, you can find flaws in it, even of the performances.
Yeah.
That you don't notice when you're performing yourself because you're wrapped up in it and you're really
In the
enjoying
moment. Yeah.
experiencing that. Yeah. but this, I think, was a bigger step down than what most of those things are.
And in some respects, while it was a little disconcerting at first, I think it helped to set the stage for us for the rest of the work we're doing, to really help understand how different this process is.
The first time, I was horrified. I was horrified.
It was unique. That piece could have been very traditional in terms of its structure, but having such a lack of structure turned it on its head, and our experience as well.
Ours may not count as a beautiful recording, but it counts as a real engagement with the music.
Yes. While Our Light and Our Night was being mixed, the chorus turned their attention to the next piece in line. They knew they needed to up their tech game to get a truer capture of their beautiful voices, as well as learn this unusual arrangement of John Newton's Amazing Grace.
Because that includes the audience, and that is also, I think, a very satisfying piece to sing harmonically. It's also familiar and a beautiful piece. And also, It's a piece that acknowledges, I wanted to have something in this that acknowledged the struggle with racial justice that's going on in our country right now.
Yeah.
And of course, Amazing Grace was written by someone who traded slaves. He owned slave ships. He made money selling human beings from Africa to the United States. And then he realized, he had a moment when he realized that it was wrong. And that's that moment of Amazing Grace where he had this realization that he describes himself as a wretch in that song, when he realized how wrong what he was doing was. And so this piece carries weight for me at this moment in time in the States. I think I'm not the only one who has made a commitment for a more just, a fairer world.
The chorus was privileged to work with Berklee College of Music's Joey Blake on Amazing Grace. Joey attended the rehearsals from Africa, another bonus of the virtual nature of Zoomberry.
Oh my gosh, I would marry that man in a heartbeat. Oh my gosh. And I'm married, so, that would be a problem. Oh, I thought he was wonderful.
Was.
And I really appreciated the things that he talked about, about really, using this as your instrument.
Mm-hmm.
And I've heard that before, but the way he said it just made a different impact, and the sort of the tips he used about, how to shape your mouth. And it was different. I mean, I'd never had any instruction on humming before. So it was useful. I mean, I thought it was really useful. And I was so impressed that he came to us from Rwanda in the middle of the night.
Oh my gosh,
And then,
that was crazy.
he was scheduled to do an hour, and we went for I don't know, an hour and 20 or whatever. No, it was consider it maybe an hour and a half. I don't know.
Yeah.
But Patricia said that she sent him a private chat and said, we're just at your hour now, and I don't want to keep you
awake.
And he wrote back and said, oh no, we're going to keep going here.
I found it fascinating. It was just a wonderful session with him. I just loved him as a person, just his love that emanated from him, and also his skill set and his willingness to share himself, again, across thousands of miles.
To honor the magic of singing together, this version of Amazing Grace is incomplete until your voice joins, singing the words. Whether you find yourself alone or in a crowd right now, please sing with us.
Throughout working Our Light and Our Night in Amazing Grace, the chorus was also engaged with the body percussion piece that was created by Claudia Rajanoto to Ernesto Nazareth's piano melody. The piece was performed with Brenda Sheehan at the piano and Claudia on the tap floor at the Lebanon Opera House in March.
So I thought to myself, well, what would be exciting? And I thought, well, what if we did, and what could we do together that would be other than a virtual choir?
Yeah.
I did want to do one virtual choir piece, but what other options are there? And so that's when I thought about, well, what if we were masked and distant from each other? What could we do then? And not able to really enunciate words. And I thought, well, what about humming and body percussion? And then I thought about my friend Claudia Rajanoto, who lives in New York City, who I see once a year. We do workshops together with Bobby McFerrin and his faculty.
Yeah.
So I've known her for 4 years now. And she's an extraordinary tap dancer and body percussionist.
Yeah.
And I thought, what if I called her up and saw if she wanted to write a piece? You know, maybe she would help me compose a piece or guide me towards a piece that we could do this. And I called her up and described my thoughts, and she was over the moon. She was so excited.
Upon signing up for Zoomberry, the chorus members also selected a level of body percussion, from very simple to bring it on. From there, levels of body percussion difficulty were assigned: 1, 1.5, 2, 2.5, or 3.
I think I would have aimed for a higher level on the body percussion. But that said, it took me it took me most of the time to be able to get level 1 down. But and I just watching some of the people, I don't think I would ever want to aim for a level 3 type of stuff. But 2, might be possible. But when we first started with Claudia trying to demonstrate in one teaching session all the different levels and the moves for them, and then getting some of them wrong and restarting, and it was just like overwhelmingly confusing for me. It was like, I don't know what's going on with this. I can't do this.
When we started, I was like, okay, I'll be a 1. I'll be a 1. I'll be like at the lowest level. I'll do the simplest part. I'm a 2.5. I know. And I'm like, I'm going to do it, So I'm like pretty pleased with myself.
Even with all the levels and months of preparation, body percussion was still a point of nerves and difficulty for the chorus.
Another thing that I'm foreseeing as being challenging is the body percussion. Most choral singers haven't done a lot of body percussion. We've done some in Juneberry, but always just a small
exercise,
just a little bit. And it's been part of songs, but it's been a small part of songs, not
the entire
song. So I'm anticipating that people are going to feel nervous about body percussion.
Yeah.
So again, we're breaking it down into really small steps. And Claudia is making videos for everybody to follow.
The process is more grueling than Juneberry used to be, for sure. And there's a lot of body percussion. Claudia is a really wonderful person. She's super sweet. She's super skilled. I am really surprised that I'm having such a difficult time with the body percussion part, because I used to dance ballet. I used to be in the gumboot dance troupe at Dartmouth. So choreography and rhythm, in theory, are my play spaces. But for some reason, learning it alone has a totally different feel. Like if you're in a group of gumboot dancers and you're all stomping the floor and clapping the sides of your boots, there's an energy in that that sustains you. But standing by myself kind of you know, like learning, okay, and then I turn to the left and then I take 3 steps to the side. It becomes so cognitive in a way. It becomes so like prefrontal cortex, that it loses that kind of primal in your body joy that I kind of need to keep going. So I'm really struggling with that.
However, Odeon wasn't all struggle and no fun.
And then I realized, oh, let me add that when I'm tired and need a pick me up and I have a project I need to do. Let me do Odeon before I go do X or pay bills or whatever, that kind of thing. Like let me let that bring, or when I come home, I mean, I usually work from my home, but sometimes I do go into the library when I come home and I'm tired. Let me do that first to kind of pep up after the long day.
Although it was challenging, I enjoyed doing it. And I really enjoyed the performance with other people. Being in the same room with people live, seeing Claudia tap, she's just so amazing. In fact, I told Patricia by email that I missed one of my entrances for part B, because I was just like entranced by what she was doing with that. And it was like, oh, wait a minute, we have to come in.
Though it seemed up in the air in the months and weeks leading up to the performance, in early March of 2021, a new ventilation system was implemented, and the chorus was able to perform Odeon in person, socially distanced.
Yeah, so we had to put people 10 feet apart, not just 6 feet apart, but because they might be breathing a little harder when they're doing body percussion and so forth, and because we were going to be together for a full hour, it was important that people be 10 feet apart. And so we literally took a measuring tape and measured what's a 10-foot distance between people, and then we made a diamond shape because we could fit more people in rather than, we could fit more people in that way.
Yeah.
So that's, and 10 feet apart turned out to be further apart than I thought it would be. I had originally thought we might be able to fit, 50 people in the Opera House distanced. And as it was, our 26 body percussors filled up the downstairs. It was so magical. It was so wonderful. And it was better than I had anticipated or dreamed it could be. It was so, you could feel us all breathe together before we started. That was just such a magical moment. And seeing people, I was surprised by how much expression you could read above the masks. And seeing people's eyes sparkling. People were so happy to be there. And you could just feel that happiness. That was really cool.
Honestly, what's going through my mind was, dang, I wish we had one more take.
Because of COVID safety and geographical distance, the recording was planned such that members who were unable to attend the performance in person could Zoom in instead.
I knew that I was on Zoom, obviously, because I was on Zoom, but I didn't fully appreciate while I was doing it how large I think I was up on the screen in the Lebanon Opera House. So I was kind of very free. I was exhausted that day. I was pretty overwhelmed. I was planning my wedding, which was like the next week. I had a lot I needed to get done.
Yeah, so that that sense of sort of joy at the end was so great, and then the excitement and all that. Even though I wasn't there physically, that was, like I said, the energy was really transmuted. I could feel it.
Actually, you could step out of it now. You'll be able to step out. Oh, look again. Do it again. We're getting very.
midst of working on Odeon, the chorus had also begun the final sung piece of the choir's roster, An Rith. An Rith was written by Andrew Cusworth to be sung by 2 Welsh choirs, using a text by his choir member, poet D.J. Pritchard, in reaction to the pandemic's effect on choir singing. They invited other choruses to join them in learning this song. So, Zoomberry's recording will be heading over to Wales to be shared more widely in the future.
Prepped that, and it's really about the experience of being a chorus, not being able to sing together, and feeling connected anyway to your choral people, and really still being a chorus even though what you thought was the central part of being a chorus is no longer. That really you still are. So discovering that, and that piece, oh my goodness, that piece, I wanted a piece that gives everybody the satisfaction of some of the richness of choral music. So it is jam-packed with suspensions and yummy chords, and just, it feels so good to sing. It's just such a satisfying song.
Since An Rith was created by a Welsh choir, it was sung entirely in Welsh. Now, this may sound intimidating, but Zoomberry members set to work with willingness and all the experience with online learning they'd already gained across all the other pieces.
I would say my question in the Q&A was like, Welsh? And she said, don't worry, Zoomberry has learned. And then she rattled off all of the different languages. And so, of course, there's going to be instruction. We're not going to be thrown to the wolves.
I think all the work we've done leading up to it has made it better.
Oh, good.
I think that the recordings are better. I think that the sound quality is better. And I think people love the song. They've really worked on it. And it shows audibly.
Oh, good.
It's audible. It's clearly, yeah. And I think people are getting more comfortable with singing into the microphone and in front of the camera. And I think their voices are sounding more relaxed.
Oh, good.
And that's beautiful to hear.
So my favorite piece to work on thus far, for sure. As I mentioned, the poetry is beautiful. And because we are in this place where we are shuttered, to be able to be a choir still in the way that we can do it now is an honor.
The Welsh piece is gorgeous.
Yes.
It's gorgeous, you know, and it's beautiful to sing, but those words are really tricky.
Just to be connected with them across the miles, across the ocean, doing this piece feels really wonderful. So it's bigger than what we are. And I guess that's the thing that COVID has taught me most of all, is how we are truly connected as a species, and not just as a species, but all species. You know, we're all in this together.
On
Patricia started to dream about Zoomberry, she gathered talented people, Anna, Brenda, Claudia, others, and she invited them to share their gifts with us. Then the word went out to intrepid singers and people who were willing to give body percussion a try. That was her boldness. And today we celebrate the genius, power, and magic that it has created.
Could I invite everyone who is a participant in Zoomberry to stand? And if you're at home, if you participated in Zoomberry, whether you are here or at home, if you'd be willing to stand for a moment and give us a chance to acknowledge you. Thank you. So the Q&A is going to happen next. And we're going to have two people on the screen who are zooming in. Claudia is in Germany right now, and she'll be coming in from Germany. And there she is. Yay. And Andrew Cusworth, the composer of that gorgeous last piece you just heard. And Johanna Evans is our moderator.
Hey, folks.
And Brenda Sheehan, our pianist. And Anna King, the filmmaker. Just take a turn around. Yes.
Well, thank you, Patricia, for bringing us all here together and assembling this wonderful group to discuss the film. And I'm going to kick the discussion off with one question and then invite folks in the audience and folks tuning in from YouTube and Facebook to bring in their questions. And we're off to an exciting film premiere conversation. So to start this off, I wanted to invite everyone here on the stage, and Andrew and Claudia also, to describe one joy and one challenge that came from the pieces that you were involved in as shown in the film. And Patricia, I know you covered a lot of this in the documentary, but is there anything that you've been reflecting on, joys and challenges, and then we'll go on?
The people. The joy is the people. No doubt. The joy was the people that I got to work with and got to know a little bit. The challenge was the people.
Well, that was a good short and poignant response. All right, Brenda.
Well, my favorite part was, again, the people, but to just elaborate a little bit, I used to accompany for the Zoomberry chorus like twice a week, and then for that to be reduced to nothing was the challenge. I find myself laughing every time in rehearsal because of your ridiculous exercises. They were so great. They're great. And the people were just awesome, but the challenge was not seeing the people. So that's me.
So I guess I'm just gonna copy everybody else and say the people, but to be more specific, everybody I interviewed, the conversations we had that didn't make it into the film, obviously, but like the ability to connect with you guys through the internet, through everything was wonderful, and to really get to know each and every one of you that I interviewed. I wish I could have interviewed everybody, but that leads me to my downside of I had a lot of footage to go through because we talked a lot. So that was kind of the downside.
All right, Claudia?
Yes, hello. Hi, everybody. So, first of all, bravo and congratulations, everybody who's seeing this. It was truly, truly, truly a pleasure to be part of this. The joy was the connection, the people, and then the challenge was the disconnect because the connection came through the screen. And it just made me realize how much, how important connection is. I mean, not only as a human being, but also if you want to make music together. I mean, whether it's singing or you're in a band or you're doing body percussion, it's like Heather said in the documentary, you're doing it, but you're basically doing it by yourself because you're by yourself at home looking at a screen. So we were able to pull in people from Vancouver, from all over the country, and Joey was able to come in from Rwanda, and I was able to dial in from New York City. So the connection, so in an odd way, it actually made us come even closer on a global level. But then we were just so much more disconnected because we did not have each other's energy next to each other in the same room, and everyone was on mute. So I was basically talking into my screen and my microphone, and that was it. And then I saw people moving on the other end, but I couldn't hear them. So that was a challenge. And also not knowing how it sounds. I mean, Patricia, I'm sure it was the same for you. You couldn't hear people together. So yeah, that was a joy and a challenge. But everything at the end of the day, totally worth it.
Absolutely. The documentary definitely attests to that. Andrew, joy, a challenge?
A joy. So, well, firstly, congratulations. It was absolutely amazing. What an absolutely fantastic project. A joy would be, again, that sense of bringing people together and as I really sort of expressed within the piece, that sense of still being a choir, still being a group of people, a community who sing, even though we're sort of divided. But obviously, that is the challenge, that it is a divided community. It is people spread out and not able to sing together. But I think probably one of the most challenging and joyful moments all at once was hearing it put together for the first time, and the shock of having had 3-4 months by that stage of having not, for the longest period in my life, sung in a choir or conducted a choir. Hearing people that I've regularly sung with for years singing together for the first time again was a real shock, and a joy and a great challenge of knowing that it would be a long time before that would happen again in person.
Well, hopefully not too much longer now.
Hopefully not.
Fingers crossed that the Delta variant.
I think probably if there is something to carry along with this, it's there are two things. One is that it's a lot easier to be a choral director in a room than it is via Zoom. It's a great deal of preparation and thinking and patience. and living with not being able to see and hear what's going on properly. And I think from that is a change in attitude, perhaps, to what it is to direct a choir, and in fact, what it is to write for a choir. Sort of going back into it in the future, and things we're hoping to do, for example, with Cordinas into the future, is perhaps to actually stream the rehearsals so that people who can't attend the actual rehearsals in person will be able to attend them virtually. So that there isn't a lag in terms of learning and things like that. Whether we'll manage it is another issue. But that sense of really making best use of that time that you have in person is probably the takeaway from this for me.
Yeah, and I think people are valuing in-person collaboration in a new way, you know, at work, for creative projects, in the rehearsal room. But yes, for choruses, I think it's especially important. Claudia, lessons, takeaways?
Yes, similarly to Andrew, that it is difficult to do something like this and not with everyone in the same room, to conduct, you know, or to teach people to do something that they're supposed to do together but not together. That's definitely a lesson that it's harder than what one would think, and not necessarily as satisfying as if we were all in the same room. But I think a major takeaway for me would be just the breadth of possibilities that have now opened up through, of course, this technology of being able to, you know, gather in the ether, through the ether. It's like Andrew said, people can watch a recording if they somehow cannot attend a rehearsal, and they can catch up, or they can refresh their memory in order, you know, before they come back in. But also global collaboration, and just the breadth of possibilities, basically. Just, you know, we can, even if it's something like, I don't know, a talk show where people would be flown in to have an interview, but now all of a sudden, you don't have to physically be there in order to still have a segment that you would like to talk about. I mean, this is totally nothing to do with sort of choral singing, but it's just the breadth of things that we can now do by having gone through this incredibly isolating, difficult time. So that's definitely a lesson that there's always a possibility, there is always a way. When we were told we should isolate and socially distance, we still found a way to sing together and make music together and essentially be together. So, yeah, thank you, Patricia, for that.
Well, and to that point, I mean, it's great that we actually get to have this conversation with you here, and that you get to hear questions from people who have been impacted by your work. And this may be an opportunity going forward for choruses to more closely collaborate with their composers or with other people, artists that they bring in to make them part of the full life cycle experience of a chorus performing that work. It's not just, oh, okay, now you've asked for the work and now here you go, like, have fun, we'll, catch you on the other side. So it's great to bring you both in here. Patricia, takeaways, lessons?
I think what astonished me the most, and what I will be taking away from this project, is how huge people's hearts are. I was so moved over and over again by how people looked at this project and figured things out. I mean, you saw at the end of the film different people's setups for filming, and ladders and stacks of things, including dishes and pans, and just the hugeness of the willingness to come to rehearsals online when they're frustrating. Holly spoke to it a little bit in the film, how it felt distanced at the same time. It was heartbreaking at the same time that it was rewarding. And people were able to step into that and still bring themselves. It was over and over again. I was touched. And when I was coming to rehearsal in tears, people were there for me. It was just, it was incredible.
Brenda, takeaways?
Mine's a more like myself takeaway. I've realized when I play piano, I like to play close to people because I can hide in the sound of those people and play a wrong note or two and get away with it. But when we're all distanced, I felt like the whole entire time it was a solo. And I'm sure a lot of other people felt the same way, where they felt so vulnerable. And the biggest takeaway for me is, everyone's in the same situation. So it was actually kind of a confidence booster for me to play, because my major is music education. So sometimes I push myself down, like, oh, I'm not a real pianist because I have an education degree. But like, with everyone being in the same kind of situation, I was like, yeah, I am good. So,
yeah. Quick follow-up. I just wanted to say that as people's videos came in, I loved that you spoke to that, people being alone and singing and having to hear themselves as soloists, only themselves, people who are used to singing in choral setup and hearing everybody around them. And the courage and the heart in those videos was just huge.
That I just want to say there was one choral member who kept sending us pictures of food with his singing, and that was wonderful. I was it Thomas? Yes, Thomas Scheidegger. That was wonderful. Thank you. The pie I still think of to this day. Anyways, so my takeaway is a little bit more kind of like Brenda's, more me focused because it's my film, And so it's really all the skills that I've learned through this process. It's the emails that I've learned how to write, the animation, all these different parts of Premiere Pro, which is my editing software, I didn't even know existed. And now I suddenly kind of sort of know how to use them. And that's wonderful. And sound mixing, which I have Tuck Stocking to thank for. It's all these skills I've learned that I wouldn't have learned without Zoomberry. So this was really a big blessing hidden by the pandemic.
Any other questions from the audience? Yes. So I'll repeat that back for our viewers at home. But the question's for Anna, and it's how many hours of footage did you start with, and how was it chopping things away and leaving stuff on the cutting room floor?
So let's start with the interviews. For the interviews, there was about 30 hours of footage. Everything else, I have no idea. Probably 10. Let's make it like 40 hours total of footage. And so pretty much I went through and I watched every single interview, and I started splicing them up, finding like the stuff that was just us having a conversation, and then the stuff that was like actually could make it into the documentary. And then I had to take all that footage, label it, and then I organized it by piece. So we had Odeon, Amazing Grace, Unenrith, etc. And then I went through and like labeled it like, oh, for example, one of Patricia's things was, because Patricia talked a lot in the documentary. It would be like, I don't know, Amazing Grace talks about Joey, very good, use this. And so then I would have like a lot of them labeled like that. And then I stuck them all into my editing software and organized them, and then was like, oh, well, so-and-so repeated what so-and-so said. So then I would take out one of them, and then it kind of, I could talk for hours about this. And I don't want to bore you all, so I'll probably cut it off here. But basically it went on and on and on like that. And then I added graphics, and then you saw what happened. So, yeah.
So we actually have a question from Facebook from my friend Gary Barton. which is, would you revise any part of these pieces having heard them performed? So I guess for Claudia and Andrew, since these are new pieces, I know that Andrew, your piece has been performed by a couple other choirs in Wales and London, and that we're the first U.S. choir. But for both of you, now that you've seen them out in the world, anything you would change? We can start with Andrew.
That's a really challenging question. Offhand, no, I don't think so. I'm really, which is not to say I've written the perfect piece. It's simply that I'm really happy with how everyone who sung it is connected with it, and how I think I feel that it does what it wants to do in terms of carrying the words and the message that I hoped it would deliver, and has brought the choirs that have sung it closer together. And so for me, I'm really happy with that. And so no, I don't think that I don't think that I'd want to change very much. No.
Claudia?
I wouldn't change anything either. I think the thing that we didn't know for the longest time whether we were going to be able to actually do it in person or not. And then once we finally did get the go ahead to do it in person, then all of a sudden it was meant, ideally it was meant to be experienced live, also with a live audience. But now that we have to, it's the capturing the sound with something, sound other than your human voice. And I think that would have been, I think at the end of the day, just knowing a little bit more about what we had a short amount of time on top of that. So it wasn't like we had a whole amount of time to set up microphones in a way that would catch the entire body, because I used the feed, I used basically the entire body. And I think that's just something that I might have wanted, but now in hindsight we just know more about how to capture the sound, or how the sound could have been captured. That was just one of the challenges, but I wouldn't have done anything different about anything other than just me knowing a little bit more about how to capture it, so that the incredible work that everyone has done on their own can be presented in a way that really does it justice, because they've all worked so hard, and yeah, the way it came out was amazing for what we had, for the short amount of time that we had. And also we weren't able to be in the same room to listen to it. We were on Zoom listening to it, and then we started mixing it, but all of us were in different places. So it's incredible the way it turned out. But for me, it would be the sound thing, if anything had to change.
Well, and we have some love in the chat for both of your pieces, but particularly Laura Catanzaro chimed in to say that the way Odeon was captured in the documentary almost transcends the screen. And so sort of a follow-up question, now that you've all seen the film with an audience, do you feel like it captured that feeling of seeing a live performance? I found it very interesting that in the documentary, when I watched the first cut of it, I commented to Anna that, if you wanted to tighten it up, you could layer more of the interviews and the music together and condense them, and that you all made the choice to have the pieces stand alone, more or less, as if we were an audience watching a performance. And so now that you've seen the documentary, how and for those of us who got to see it with the live audience, do you feel like the sense of what that performance was about came through? And I guess this is a question for all of you, so we can start with Patricia.
I would say yes. I think we could use less of me talking in the film, but I thought that for a long time. I've given that feedback to Anna many times. Aside from that, I liked hearing what the chorus had created with each piece. if I were doing it again, I would capture the sound for Our Light in Our Night in a different way. We would have still done it on Zoom as it was designed to do, but I would have had each person record individually in their house and then send me their individual recordings, because we couldn't do the sound mixing, and the Zoom mic capture, as you heard, the Zoom mic capture doesn't capture the true quality of the voices, and they ended up sounding tinnier and not as beautiful as the voices sounded. So I would change that, but I wouldn't change the way that each piece was presented as a concert almost.
I was only part of one song, so seeing all the behind the scenes from the other pieces was really cool. So I appreciated that a lot.
I guess I kind of agree with what Patricia said, that I think for this documentary to really capture what you guys went through and to really showcase your work, the hard work you guys put in with the pieces, it would be a little bit, I don't know what the quite word is, but it wouldn't be fair to you guys to cover up what you had created with your pieces if I put interviews or something over it. I mean, I see what Johanna's saying clearly, but I think for at least for this version of the documentary, it kind of needed to be this way. Does that make sense? Not to put down what Johanna said at all.
No, I actually I thought it was a very strong artistic choice, and I know that it's a challenge to cut a documentary down, but I'm glad that you held firm, that you didn't take my suggestion, because seeing it with a live audience, you could really see how the performance worked. Claudia, any thoughts on the documentary now that you've seen it? Did the performance aspect of it come through for you?
Yeah, absolutely. It was really nice to hear. It was really nice to hear the interviews. It was really nice to see the behind the scenes, like Anna said, Brenda said, of everything, of all the other pieces, because, I only contributed my part within Odeon, but now I've heard about all the other pieces, and now seeing how everything else came together, and to see the actual final pieces was incredible. And just to see everyone's faces on the screen again, and to actually have had the opportunity to meet everyone in person who was able to make it. So incredible documentary, incredible capturing of the whole process.
Andrew, thoughts?
I shall unmute myself. So I think, absolutely. I thought the documentary really captured that sense of performance. I think having it as a premiere in this way and streaming it live with an audience really sort of extends that. I mean, we made a similar decision with Arlene Treef, and have done with a couple of subsequent things, to have to set a date and stream something as a premiere on YouTube, to create a sense of event and moment, which has been lost in the pandemic completely. I think that having it done this way has really enhanced that. But I think also with the documentary, there's a really lovely sort of honesty to it, which is that quite often virtual choir and productions are relatively glossy things. And you see the finished product, and everybody who's involved in it knows exactly what goes on in the background, and you can kind of work out that everybody's singing alone, and that maybe there's an averaging out of voices that happens in the process. But what you end up with in the end is actually a finished, in inverted commas, performance. And having this build to each piece where the reasoning behind it was talked about, and the experiences of the singers working on it and their initial reactions versus how they progressed through it and developed, I thought that was a really lovely way of expressing the whole of this process. I thought it worked really, really beautifully.
So we have a good follow-up question to this in the chat, and I just wanted to let folks know we'll maybe take one or two more from the audience after that. So if you have one, get ready to raise your hand. But we have a question from Jacob about, would you do this sort of Zoom collaboration performance again? And so to sort of clarify that, Patricia as the choral director, Andrew as, sort of half, educator making the parts and the composer, Claudia and Brenda as performers, and Anna as a virtual filmmaker? Would you do this sort of virtual project again?
My answer is pretty easy. Yes, because I didn't do any of the work. I just played. So yeah, I'm down.
Claudia, since you also were performing in this, did you have a similar feeling?
I would do it again. It was a lot of work. It ended up being more work than I had anticipated, but nothing in comparison to the work that Patricia has done, and that just if someone were to set the grounds and the foundation for me to be able to do what I did, I would absolutely do it again. If an in-person version was truly not possible. But yeah, I hats off to Patricia, because had that foundation not been set, then I don't know if I would want to do that again. I mean, I have to say, at the heart of it, Patricia was the one who, it was really, truly a pleasure to work with her. And then the amazing souls that I've met through her, absolutely, I would do it again.
Kind of to build off of Claudia, yes, if Patricia did it again, I would do it again. But I mean, I definitely would do this experience again. Of course, I'm not sure if I could organize it, because that would be, I don't know what Patricia did to get it all together, but she worked magic. Magic.
So, Andrew, your thoughts, and especially since now there are, Welsh choirs all around the world that you can take your piece to. Are you looking forward to doing more with this piece, or another one in the future?
Yes, I mean, I'd love some more Welsh choirs to take it up. That would make me very happy. Yeah, absolutely. This is something that I am currently working on another virtual choir piece at the moment, and there have been a couple in between, and that's partly as a result of sort of leading a choir and being involved with choirs, and partly as a composer. But yeah, absolutely, it's something that I think I would enjoy doing again. I hope that doing it in the future won't be necessarily under the same circumstances, and that it'll be part of something rather than the whole of something. But it's been a really wonderful experience, and seeing it taken on by another choir, and in this environment it's taken on by Zoomberry, has been a really inspiring thing, and made it feel, it felt incredibly worthwhile anyway, but has just taken that extra step forwards in terms of building connections and things. And I think that is an inspiring thing to say, yes, I would want to do this kind of thing again.
Wonderful. Well, I hope that we can see more of it here in the Upper Valley. And Patricia, would you do this again?
I don't know. I loved working with Claudia. I loved the chance to learn this piece of Anders, which was so beautiful. But I could have learned that piece, and done it with an in-person choir. I would not have had the opportunity to work with Claudia as regularly, and I really enjoyed that. There are several people who sang with Zoomberry whom I wouldn't have had a chance, who maybe would drive 3 hours to get to rehearsal every week, but I sort of doubt it. And so the chance to work with those people was wonderful. It was wonderful to work with Anna, but I could work with her in person as well. And Brenda, I love working with in person. So I certainly learned a lot that would make it easier in another go-round. By the end, we had some things figured out. So that's something to keep in mind, that it wouldn't be as big a project and as large a learning curve. But I'm not ready to commit to it yet.
So, all right, we're going to take one last question, and then we're going to wrap up here in the third row. Sorry. Oh, did we? Okay, maybe we'll have two questions. All right, quickly. hybrid Zoomberry. Question to you, Patricia.
I definitely see the chance to bring in experts from around the world and artists and musicians and work with them on a screen in rehearsal, or work with composers more closely, bringing them in to talk with the chorus and be interviewed in person in rehearsal. Absolutely.
Great. And our last question there in the back. Oh my gosh, is that Megan Helm out there in the back? Hi. The perfect note to end on. Patricia, what's next?
You guys are asking all the tough questions here. We are still in the process of figuring out, it seems to me that going into the next year, we're going to have to stay flexible. We don't know what's going to happen and what's going to be safe and for how long it's going to be safe in what conditions. So I'm trying to design a Juneberry program that would culminate in March. We have one more piece that Claudia wrote for us that we are hoping to do, which is a combination of humming and body percussion and tap. I'm hoping to bring that to the Juneberry Chorus. We are looking at a possible in-person concert on March 20th, but looking at designing it such that we'll move through a piece at a time so that we have closure on pieces. And if we need to go into virtual choir type recording, we will do that. We will rehearse in person as much as we can. We're still tweaking the details. In the meantime, I've also added for myself, the level of uncertainty is challenging, so I've added other things that are online. For example, I'm going to continue doing pocket song singing online. I've started a podcast called abreathofsong.com, just in case. You can find it anywhere you find your podcasts. Or on the website, abreathofsong.com, in case you missed it. What was it? Oh, it was abreathofsong.com. No, so I've started looking at things that are both things that will continue no matter what happens health-wise, and looking into how to bring us together in a room.
Great. Well, thank you so much. You've been a fantastic audience. Thank you for all your questions. Thank you to Nathaniel Perron and our Here in the Valley light technician out in the back. Thank you, Aaron, and thank you, Ben. Thank you, Patricia, Brenda, Anna, Andrew, and Claudia. And Johanna. Oh. I hope you all have a chance to sing sometime this summer, and we hope to see you at Juneberry Chorus performances in the future. Thanks so much.